Welcome back to Cinemas, everyone. We are traveling back in time to 1994. This movie is already forgotten. Trapped in Paradise, starring Nicolas Cage, John Lovitz, and the great Dana Carvey. Let's get to it. So if you hear anything in the background, in the surrounding noise, it is because I am going on a run of making cold coffee. So anyone that's new to the podcast, I'm Peter. I'm AKAPAD, Peter A. DeLuca from AKAPad.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Snapchat, AKAPad, AKAPad13 on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on Etsy /shop/AKAPad if you wanted to support the efforts here. Also, if you're listening to SoundCloud and Spotify, there's links to go to direct donation buttons. Okay, we need some funding. We need your help because this stuff takes time. It's expensive, and I do want to make it a little bit more regular and full time. So hey. Well, or I'll be happy just with a with any income regarding this, so I can at least make it part time. I'll be happy with part time. I think I can do a lot of it part time hours, 20 hours a week for Dream Warriors. Holy crap! We would just take it over. Full time would not even be fair for the rest of the podcasting field. But yeah, so I'm making coffee. I go on runs of making huge batches of coffee, and I do all these different flavors. I do like pre-refrigerated bullet coffee that actually I think holds up better than when you make bullet coffee fresh. And then I'll do like a couple flavors, and then I'll do one pitcher of just straight black cold coffee. And this is because I'm not always in flavor. Like I don't always have the taste for hot coffee. So a lot of times I do love cold coffee. So that's what you're hearing. And why? Where it's like, Pete, you have to stop recording. You can't just have these things in the background. No. The Dream Warrior studio is 24/7. There's things in the background sometimes. Sometimes there's even Dallas. Dallas is my cat. You can find him on Instagram at Diamond Dallas Cat. He's named after Diamond Dallas Page, the great wrestler, not the football team, but also a side naming after, or it would be Dallas from the movie Alien, the Ridley Scott masterpiece. But yeah, so we're talking Trapped in Paradise, and we're talking Christmas, and we're getting into like all of these things. This movie, I remember kind of maybe being younger and grouping this movie together with Quick Change and Scrooge. Even though Quick Change is that's a Bill Murray movie starring Randy Quaid also and Gina Davis. That movie hits it out of the park. But it's just a time where like all these things, all these movies were just maybe on cable at the same time. And this flick is written, directed, I believe also produced by George Gallo. George Gallo has been in the comedy game for a long time, and he's actually made some of the I would say maybe the best buddy comedy ever, and that would be Midnight Run. That was made in 1988. You should check it out. He also wrote this movie called Wise Guys with Joe Piscopo and it's Danny DeVito and Joe Piscopo. And I vaguely remember this movie, but it's directed by Brian De Palma. And Brian De Palma comes up a lot in our discussions. If you're not familiar with De Palma, he's best known for Scarface. He's directed the first Mission Impossible. To me, he is a almost like a nuanced slasher filmmaker that was able to break into the mainstream and do mainstream movies like Casualties of War. But to me, he's Blowout Brian De Palma and Body Double Brian De Palma, two of the best John Travolta movies you can ever wish for. But so what makes this movie so special? Why did I choose this movie? Well, Amazon Prime. I was scrolling through Amazon Prime, and this is available through my Star subscription that I access through at Amazon Prime. So Amazon Prime, it doesn't aggregate all of your subscriptions, but it gets close. Hold up. Your loving host needs a sip of coffee. Ugh. I also feel like I have to slow down a little. But this movie kind of brought back a lot of memories, and I wanted to almost like verify if like my memory of the movie was correct. And I have to say, when it comes to the trio, Nicolas Cage, John Lovitz, and Dana Carvey, these three guys work so well together. That is what I remembered in this movie. I remembered the three of them kind of being at each other's throats, very similar to the family in Goonies, and it delivered. And I would almost say this might be Dana Carvey's best performance, because he actually has an arc. His facial expressions, the way his character is changing as the movie's marching on, because he's a kleptomaniac, is masterful. John Lovitz, again, like through his tone and performance, transforms. Nicolas Cage, who's our star, he's our Rock Hudson. He just gets the girl at the end. He's changed. So Nicolas Cage has less of a clear arc, but that's also because he's kind of like the plastic. He's the marquee guy, so his character is not going to really have like the peaks and valleys as some of the other characters, especially his brothers. And we should kind of touch the plot, right? Don't you agree? We should kind of get into the plot of this movie, because that's what we do here on Dream Warriors. We discuss plot. Okay, so the plot is a little bit it's a tad confusing, because John Lovitz and Dana Carvey and Nicolas Cage are brothers. Now, one of them is straight and narrow, and that's Nicolas Cage. The two get released early from prison because of overcrowding and like good behavior. So we get introduced to Nicolas Cage, boom, like straight and narrow. Then we jump to a parole hearing, and we see these two guys trying to con the parole board. And again, we're character building. And then somewhere along the line, Nicolas Cage gets inspired to rob this bank, and this is where it becomes, like comedy ensues when idiots try and rob a bank. So Dana Carvey is this kleptomaniac, John Lovitz is a liar, and Nicolas Cage is like, you would almost say he's like the mastermind, but he's not very good at it. So they take this money from the bank, and now through the warmth of this family who they stole the money from, who owned the bank, they find out that this money is just going to destroy the town, it's going to destroy the bank, it's going to destroy the family, because things that they assume just are not true, like lying for insurance and so on and so forth. So the movie begins to slow turn when like we have our Elliot Ness character, the FBI hunting for Nicolas Cage, piecing it together, and then through this cat and mouse chase, we have nuance in character and discovery of oneself. And Nicolas Cage completely turns the corner and falls in love, while Dana Carvey and John Lovitz, his other brothers, go back home new people. And that's Trapped in Paradise. Okay, so we have this. We have a meme. We have a living meme, and I would say, and it's Nicolas Cage's performance in this and how forgotten it is. His mannerisms and the way how he puts himself out in front of the camera has become it's become a meme for millennials and hipsters. And the idea that Nicolas Cage overacts and acts a certain way and freaks out is an internet thing, which I don't agree with, because I don't think it's fair. I try I try not to use memes because I think they're too abstract and I think they're mean sometimes. And I much rather use words. Okay, I'm sorry. I much rather use words when I'm discussing. Even if I'm going back and forth on Twitter, I much rather use words. I think people that use memes are they're hiding behind something, and someone else is saying something for you. Like you're not being very vocal on it, nor are you being very good at being vocal on it. That's my stance on memes. But the performance of Nicolas Cage in this movie, it's of a maniac. But it's glorious, and it's so well targeted and directed. Gallo really knew what he had on his hands when Nicolas Cage just started letting loose. And we get these freak out moments by Cage, but they're honest and they're truthful because the character itself is frustrated and angry, and even going through these emotions, and he's a little bit sad on the inside. I just really connected to that. I thought his, and maybe it's a little bit because I struggle so hard to maintain all my content streams, while I endlessly have people who offer their services to me. Not services. They want to do things. I tell them, I give them things to do, and they work for like 2 weeks, and that's it. And that's the story of my life. But so his frustration really kind of came through. But it was particularly interesting because the range of Nicolas Cage as an actor, it's like Ryan Gosling can't hit the range of Nicolas Cage. Like George Clooney can't, Brad Pitt can't. Like these people who try drama and comedy, like many of them completely fail. And I would say like Nicolas Cage could do comedy, especially at this like juncture in his career, as well as Jim Carrey. And for him to go and win the Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, and to continue to strive forward and to like be in movies and be a part of Hollywood, it's a hell of a career. And he has nothing but my adulation and love. And look, props. He's a comic book guy. So Dream Warriors, we particularly do shout outs for comic book guys. And so I wanted to research this. I really didn't have too much time to look it up, but I remember Dana Carvey. Dana Carvey's famous for his bit on maybe the last golden age of SNL. Like, I'm sorry, Will Ferrell phase. But in the 80s, Dana Carvey was Saturday Night Live. He's this impressionist. John Lovitz was a part of that crew, which is probably why they have chemistry together. And that's a little depressing because it shows you how far SNL has fallen. SNL, it's not focused on comedy now. It's focused on political commentary and preaching from a high horse. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have funny moments. I'm sure it does, but the overall attitude and air of the show is just something I don't really want to be a part of. I don't want to be like sunken into. And it sucks because I'm sure there's a heck of a lot of talented people involved with SNL, but Dana Carvey and John Lovitz were a part of this powerhouse, like mid 80s to maybe like 84 to 1990, like a 6-year powerhouse. And Dana Carvey was the star. He's the one that created the characters. Church Lady, complete. If things were a little bit more streamlined, Church Lady would have had her own movie series, period. But I remember him getting sick, and he disappeared. And he had some great stand-ups. Might have been HBO. I don't think they were Showtime. But in my eyes, Jim Carrey paled next to Dana Carvey. I'm sorry. I was trying to get to that point. Hopefully I wasn't addressing Dana Carvey as Jim Carrey. I suck. But Dana Carvey was the talent in American comedy. And this is just me as a young kid, laying it all in. And and he disappeared, and everything became Jim Carrey. But Dana Carvey, in my eyes, always got a raw deal. Now, in hindsight, I think the Jim Carrey comedy holds up so much more today than Dana Carvey, because Dana Carvey's just making like silly faces. But I feel like Carrey needed a template, and he was able to build off of Carvey, and Jim Carrey just went harder into the paint with his characters and his portrayals than Dana Carvey. But Dana Carvey is nothing but masterful, amazing in this movie. He's insanely funny, and his characters, I love kleptomaniac characters. And John Lovitz is basically playing John Lovitz as he did on SNL, as he did in Big, which is one of my favorite cameos in that movie, next to John Hurt. But he's the guy that works next to Tom Hanks when Tom Hanks gets hired. Tom Hanks starts working, and John Lovitz interrupts Tom Hanks in Big and says, "Hey, slow down." And he literally did like 5 seconds worth of work. But John Lovitz, again, amazing. So we have Gallo, right? We have George Gallo. Now, George Gallo, other than Wise Guys, he wrote Wise Guys, directed by Brian De Palma, but he's known for some movies. 29th Street with Danny Aiello. This is a great movie. Codenamed The Cleaner with Cedric the Entertainer, 2007. I never seen it, but this might predate some of these spy comedies that kind of took over Hollywood for a while. I think the movie, it definitely predates Spy with what's her name, the girl from Ghostbusters. And then we have Middlemen, which is a hell of a movie that I wholeheartedly enjoyed, starring Luke Wilson, Giovanni Ribisi, again, two fantastic character actors. Giovanni Ribisi is our time's great character actor, great actor, period. I don't think there's few that are even close to him. Philip Seymour Hoffman was, but it's still, he's no longer with us, but it's hands down Giovanni Ribisi. But this movie's about the men who introduced the payment processing, that could be done anonymously, that took over the porn industry, and and commerce and all, like the encryption and stuff, and and it's a hell of a movie. Middleman and Social Network is a great 1-2 combo if you really want to see how some of the world was built. And then we have Double Take, and this is it's Orlando Jones and Eddie Griffith, two actors that are like no longer actor comedians that are gone. And Orlando Jones is one funny dude, and he never got a fair shake. Eddie Griffin did a little bit more, but this movie, it's a 2001 movie. George Gallo wrote and directed it. I think this is it's a relic of two amazingly talented men that Hollywood kind of forgot, and I might want to do something on Double Take. I wouldn't mind doing a deep dive on George Gallo, because I think pound for pound he's a hell of a comedy writer director. Like, he really understands the people he's working with, and I do have to revisit Wise Guys. But look, it's gonna be time for me to go. And why? Because I'm so freaking busy. I've been so focused on my comic book these last couple of days, and I completely deleted all my items on my eBay shop to get better sales. So I'm redoing my eBay, my comic book. Hopefully, my comic crowdfunding will be available by the beginning of the year. And I'm talking nearly, maybe the entire thing will be not complete, but the artwork will be wrapped. So by through the course of the campaign, I can actually finish the book. But that's been my huge focus. This is a project that's been going on since 1997. It's been hardcore since late 2017, like 20 years later. So I've been working on this thing steadily for a solid year, I would say. And again, insanely excited. And I had to bang off some rust, like the drawing rust. But yeah, look, everyone, it's Christmas. I would appreciate it if you took time to, like love your friends and love your family and say it. Like, don't just say with presents. The words themselves have impact. And for all of you who are listening this time of year, thank you so much for joining me on this Dream Warriors journey. Thank you for participating in social media on all accounts, and any contributor. I know some of you listen regularly, but thank you for just being like on the team. Some of you guys bench yourselves, but thank you for just even being there. It means a lot to me. But hey, I have to go. Merry Christmas, rock and roll, and until next time.